Hey there, NESmaker friends, and happy Easter! So, sorry that I haven't made a video in a while. Quite a while, actually. Let's make a long story short. I finally got my main PC back, and now I can make more videos. So, today I have a big one for you. Actually, this is going to be so big that, like with the Ghost Hunter Pete, I'm going to have to divide this into separate episodes. Excuse me. And this first one is going to be about special screens. So what's special screens? Well, that's start screen, game over screen, cutscene, stuff like that. So that's what we're going to look at in this episode. However, in order to start working with special screens, we need something to work with. So that's why I'm going to show you my Easter game, Jack the Chick, which is the game that we are going to make. But I've already pre-made a lot of assets, graphics and all kinds of stuff. So that's what we're going to do in the start of this video. Actually, we're probably going to spend quite some time just setting up the game. So here's the thing. We are going to do a lot. We're going to do quite advanced things as well. So please don't panic. Don't feel bad if there are things that you don't understand, or if this feels overwhelming, because as I said, we are going to do a lot of stuff here. Basically, why? Well, the reason why is we are going to reconstruct the game Jack the Chick as quickly as possible so we can start working on the special screens. So don't worry too much if you feel that there are parts that you don't understand. I'm going to do a little explaining as we go along. Excuse me. But mainly what we're doing here is just reconstructing the game so we can start looking at special screens. And in the next episode we're going to look at how we can improve NESmaker. Not just for this game, but how we can fix a few bugs and make our game more stable. So in order to do all that, we need our base game. We need something to work with. That's what we're going to do in this video. But first of all, why don't I show you this game? So let's start Jack the Chick so you can see what it looks like. So this is our Easter game. Let's just add a little bit more volume here. Okay, fine. So obviously we start our game here at start screen. Jack the Chick, the title of the game, and press start. So I'm just going to start my game. The first thing that happens in this game, is we see this tutorial screen. Now this is just a quick way of teaching our player how this game is played. If the chicken collides with an egg, that's a +1. If the bunny collides with an egg, that's a -1. And these are how many eggs we have collected. This is our player health, these are our lives, and basically that's it. So just a quick way to teach the player how to play this game. Okay, let's press start button once more. And then we get to this screen that says stage 1. I'm not going to touch anything. So just after a few seconds, we go into our stage 1. Okay, so let's see. Oh, Bunny took our first egg. Okay, let's see if we can collect 5 eggs. See what happens. And let's try not to die. That's one egg. And 2. 3 more to go. So, there's a lot of stuff going on in this game. And in this particular video, I only have time to look at some of it. Okay, so that's another thing. We collected 5 eggs, we got a happy animation, a little fanfare, we got a screen that says stage 2, and then our next level starts. Here we are at stage 2. And let's see if we can just finish our game here by beating stage 2. So that's 2 eggs, 3 eggs, and 4 eggs. So 1 more egg to go. And that should do it. And we won the game. And here we can press our start button, and then we're back to start screen. So, that's our game. This was just a very quick playthrough to give you some idea of what we're going to do here. So, how should we do this? Well, here's the thing. You need to use a completely blank NESmaker folder. If you want to follow along with this tutorial, then please don't use a NESmaker folder where you have other NESmaker projects, because we are going to do so much in this video that we are going to it's going to affect your other projects. So you need to make sure that you have a completely blank NESmaker folder. Now I've just downloaded NESmaker here, which is this file with this weird file name. So I'm just going to go into this freshly downloaded NESmaker file, and I'm going to go into here. I'm going to put this on my desktop. So I'm going to have a completely clean NESmaker install on my desktop, only for this project. And I recommend that you do the same. In addition to downloading a fresh copy of NESmaker, I have also prepared a file for this project. So if you go to boardbee.com/downloads, at the very top here there's something called Jack the Chick Assets. So if you click this download button, then you will end up with let's see, we're still copying here. So you're gonna end up with a zip file with a lot of stuff in there, and that's what we're going to do to reconstruct the Jack the Chick game. So we need to do 2 things here now. We need to set up a fresh copy of NESmaker and download the Jack the Chick Assets file on boardbee.com/downloads. I'm going to leave the link. I'm going to leave the link in the comment section of this video. So there we go. Our NESmaker folder is ready to go. So if I go to my downloads folder, there's my Chick import folder. I'm just going to extract this folder to my desktop. So wait a minute, let's just do it this way. So there we go. Now we have a fresh copy of NESmaker, and we have this Chick import folder. If you take a look inside the chick import folder, you can see there's a lot of stuff in here. But our NESmaker folder, if you go in here, you see it's just standard NESmaker. Let's rename our NESmaker folder here. Let's rename it to Jack the Chick. Just don't use any spaces, just write it like this. Jack, capital J, the, capital T, Chick, capital C. So we have one folder, one folder called chick import, and we have one folder called Jack the Chick. Now, when we're doing these setup steps, we are going to switch a lot between these two. So let's just open up our Jack the Chick folder and our chick import folder. So make sure you have both of these folders open. And as I said, we're going to switch a lot back and forth. So, before we start NESmaker, we are going to go to our chick import folder, modules. So go to chick import modules, and there's a Jack the Chick specific module. This module is a modified version of the Metroidvania module, but we need to use it for this specific project. So copy the Jack the Chick module, go back to Jack the Chick, our NESmaker folder, and go to modules in here and paste our Jack the Chick module in there. Alright, so now let's start NESmaker. So we go here, start NESmaker, and obviously this is a new project, so let's click new project and create blank tile set. Now we are going to write Jack the Chick once more, and this time it's super important that we write it exactly like I do it here. So let's just write Jack the Chick like we did before, and be absolutely sure that you have written Jack with capital J, no spaces, Jack with capital J, the with capital T, Chick with capital C, Chick spelled C-H-I-C-K. So make sure you have written it exactly like that. Why? Because if we don't spell it exactly like this, then our settings in our new project will be a little off, and it's going to be a lot of work to fix that later on. So just write Jack the Chick like this. Alright, now for a starting module, we are going to choose Jack the Chick, our own Jack the Chick module. Now, as I said, this is a slightly modified version of the Metroidvania module. So with the Jack the Chick as our folder name, Jack the Chick as our starting module, let's click OK. And before we do anything else, let's just save our project. So click Save up here, and in our Jack the Chick projects folder, again, let's just write Jack the Chick like that. Alright, make sure you're in the projects folder. Click Save. Okay, so now we have our blank Jack the Chick project. So when you create a new project like we just did, what NESmaker does is it sets up a lot of settings based on the module you select. But it does one more thing. It creates a new graphic assets folder. So in our Jack the Chick NESmaker folder, let's go to graphic assets. And there's our Jack the Chick folder. That's just a new folder with a lot of empty graphic tiles. So from our brand new graphic assets folder, our brand new Jack the Chick folder, what should we do? Well, let's delete this one. So in Jack the Chick graphic assets, this brand new folder, we're going to delete it. So right click on this folder inside graphic assets and delete. Why? Well, it's because I've already made a folder here in our Chick import folder. So let's go over to Chick import, and there we have another graphic assets folder, and inside that one we have Jack the Chick. So copy this Jack the Chick folder, and let's go back to our NESmaker folder called Jack the Chick, and make sure you're in graphic assets and paste this new Jack the Chick folder in here. So basically we just replaced the blank folder with the one that I made. So if we go into this folder, you'll see that there are pre-made graphics in here. There's stuff for game over and whatnot. So now we have our graphics for our game. Okay, that's nice. What's next? Well, let's go back to our Chick import folder. We have imported our graphics. We have our module. Now we need to look at some scripts. So in Chick import, go to scripts here. And now again, there's a lot in here. And like I said in the beginning, don't get discouraged if you're doing a lot of super advanced stuff, because we are going to do a lot of modifications here, and it's going to take way too long if I need to explain every single thing in detail. So at this point you just have to accept that we need to do all these things to get this game working, and eventually when everything falls into place, then I'll explain what we need to do and try to make sense of the things that most of the things that we're going to do. So let's just start with our AI folder. So make sure you're in Chick import, scripts. Let's go into AI. Now that's our Chick import folder. In our Jack the Chick folder, let's go into Game Engine Data, Routines, Base 4.5, Game, and Mod Metroidvania. So in Mod Metroidvania, there's also a folder called AI. So go into that AI folder. And let's copy our bounce and move towards player. Select those two scripts, copy, and paste them in Mod Metroidvania AI folder. Alright, so let's paste them in there. Now there's another folder here called Reactions. Let's go into our Reactions folder. Let's copy this called Warp on Solid. Copy that one, and again back to our NESmaker folder, our Mod Metroidvania AI folder, and go into Reactions, and there's one called Update Screen at Edge. Right click and paste, so we get our Warp on Solid in there as well. Okay, So as I said, we are going to do a lot of back and forth between these two folders. So let's just do it as efficiently as we can. In our chick import folder, we just copied these AI scripts. These two and our reaction script here. So just go to the folder called scripts. And let's go to this next one called common. So go into the common folder and select all these three scripts. Copy them. And let's go to our mod Metroidvania folder. And let's go into this common folder. So there's already one called Do Draw Spritehood Metroidvania. We are going to replace that one. And we're going to copy in two new scripts, player death and player win. And there's also a hurt player script in here. We're going to modify that a little bit. So again, make sure you copied these scripts from the common folder in chick import. And in mod Metroidvania common, that's where we will paste our new scripts. So we get the question, do you want to replace Do Draw Spritehood? Yes. Click replace the file. There we go. So now our common folder has 4 scripts. Alright. Now again, back to our chick import folder and go to chick import scripts. So there are 3 text files here. This first one says add at the beginning of hurt player. So open up that file. Just double click and select everything in this file. I'm going to click Ctrl A to select everything, Ctrl C to copy it. And remember, add at the beginning of hurt player. So close this one and go to our mod Metroidvania common where we have our hurt player script. So let's open up our hurt player script. Now it said add at the beginning of this script. It's not entirely at the top, but it's this part right here from where it says plus can hurt player to where it says plus do hurt player. So make sure you have this part selected right now. Just this part right here. Okay, so with this part selected, right click in the selected area and click paste. So now we paste the stuff from our text file. So can hurt player, and there's a lot of stuff in here, and then we have do hurt player down here. Okay, so let's go back to our chick import scripts folder, and there's another text file called add at the end of hurt player. So let's open up that one, and again let's select everything in here and copy it. Just close it, and let's go back to our hurt player script, and let's go all the way to the bottom here. Now this time we need to select everything from plus player health is 0 all the way to where it says plus skip hurt. So make sure you have this area selected from plus player health is 0 all the way down to plus skip hurt. Again, with this area selected, just right click in any part of the selected area. Right click and paste. Now as you can see, it says this replaces the code that was here by default. So We are going to come back to this because, as I said in the beginning, this is a big one, and it's a little bit complicated, especially if you haven't worked with code before. Anyway, now if you are sure that you made these two changes, you added this at the beginning and you added this at the end, then save our player HUD file and close it. Now this next part might be even more confusing, unfortunately, but as I said, just accept that we need to do these things to get this to work, and in just a little while we're going to take a look at what's actually going on. So for now, let's just accept this. There's a text file here called add at the end of load all subroutines. So open up this text file called add at the end of load all subroutines. And again, select everything in here. Copy and just close this file. Now we need to go to NESmaker, and now we need to open up our project settings, and from here we go to script settings, and in this top section right here we have something called load subroutines. Load all subroutines. So make sure you have load subroutines selected and click edit. Now our text file told us to add whatever we just we just copied. It said to add that at the very end of this file. So in our load all subroutines file, let's go all the way to the end there, to where it says databank 1. So just below our databank 1, we are going to paste our new code. Now there we go. So just below databank 1, you should have a player death and a player win. As I just said a moment ago, it's going to take way too long to explain every single thing that's going on. In this case, we are including 2 new scripts. So for now, let's just accept that. Alright, so if you have done this, then just save the file and close it. So let's close our project setting as well and minimize NESmaker. Okay, so we've copied AI scripts, we've copied common scripts. Now there's a one called inputs here. So let's go to chick import scripts and inputs. There are 2 files in here. So select these 2 files, reset game and warp. Select those 2 and copy. And once more, let's move back to our NESmaker folder, and in our mod Metroidvania, just go to mod Metroidvania, the folder, and go to the one called inputs in here. And in here we are going to paste, just right click, paste our 2 new files, reset game and warp. Alright, now back to our chick import folder again. Chick import scripts. There's a one called macros here. So let's go into macros. Now, if you have been doing some custom coding for NESmaker, you probably used macros. And these 2 macros are actually default NESmaker macros, but these 2 specific ones are slightly modified for our project. And this is one of the reasons that we need to do this in a blank NESmaker folder, because this would probably break your other projects. So, copy Draw Spritehead and Warp to Screen. Copy those two and back to our NESmaker folder, but this time go to base 45. So make sure you're in the Jack the Chick NESmaker folder, Game Engine Data, Routines, base 45. And instead of going to Game, let's go to System this time. And there is our Macros folder. So go into Macros and make sure you copy these over here. So let's paste in our 2 new macros. Do you want to replace those? Yes, we want to replace them. So click Replace the files in the destination. Okay. Now back to our Chick import scripts folder. The next one says tiles. So if we take a quick peek in here, these are 4 tile types that we are going to use in our Chick import game. So without looking at those right now, let's just copy our tiles folder. Copy the entire folder called tiles. So select tiles and copy. Again, back to our NESmaker folder. And this time we go to base 45, Game, Mod Metroidvania, and the Mod Metroidvania, the Metroidvania module does not have a tiles folder here by default. So that fits us perfectly right now, because now we can just right click and paste our new tiles folder in here. So now we have our own tiles folder in Mod Metroidvania. Alright. I think that's it for our scripts for now. So let's go back to Chick import up here. And now let's go back to NESmaker. And let's start importing things in here. So first, let's start by importing our palettes. So go to palettes up here and select all palettes. Right click all palettes and choose import. Now we need to go to our desktop and our Chick import folder. And there's a file here called all palettes. So select all palettes and click open. Now we have our background palettes. There's a one called forest up here, and there's a one called tutorial screen down here, and there's another one down there. So these are our background palettes. Let's do the same for monster palettes. So go to monster palettes, just click all monster palettes. Make sure you have all monster palettes selected. Right click and click import. Now in our Chick import folder there's a file called all monster palettes. Select that one and click open. And now we have our monster palettes, or object palettes really. There's a player palette, so perfect. Now we have all our palettes. So next, go to Game Objects. Right click Game Objects and select Import All Game Objects. And in our Chick import folder there's a file called Game Objects. Select that one and click open. And if we just take a little peek in here now, we can see that here's our player object. and he even has the right palette selected. And there are a few other objects down here, and we're going to look at them later on. But for now, let's go to Monster Graphic Banks and go to Graphics Bank 0. And before we go to monsters, we're going to go to monster groups here. Now we need to go back to our chick import folder. And there's a text file in here called monster groups. So open up monster groups and select this one at the top. Just select the top one that says forest creatures. Copy that one. Go back to NESmaker and make sure you have tiles 0 selected for tile set. And just paste forest creatures in here. Forest creatures, tiles 0. And just click save. So that makes an empty monster group for us. Now we need to reset this text field. So in order to do that, we just go outside our monster groups folder and back again. So now we have a blank field, text field here. Alright, so back to our text file called monster groups. And this time we select the second line here that says effect monsters. Select that one and copy. Just close this file. Now before we paste in our text, just make sure that you choose tiles 7 for this one. So tile set, tiles 7. And now we can paste effect monsters in here. And click save. So now we have 2 empty monster groups. Alright, let's go to monsters up here. Right click monsters and choose import all monsters. There's a file in here called monster objects. So select monster objects and click open. If you just take a little peek in here, you can see there's something called bunny in there and timer monster. So if we go down to forest creatures, and if you go to this menu here in the middle of the screen, just click that one and you'll see something called bunny. So select bunny and click save. So now we have a bunny monster in our forest creatures monster group. Alright, let's go to effect monsters. And let's do the same thing. Click on this menu in the middle. And there's something called timer monster here. Select that one and click save. So we have 2 monsters and we have 2 monster groups. Each monster has its own monster group basically. Alright. So now we're actually getting somewhere. Let's take a look at our chick import folder here. So we imported our graphics, started with the module, we've done the scripts, palettes, game objects, and yeah, let's just import our sound. So go to sound down here and right click sound, import family tracker txt. Select that one. And in our chick import folder we have something called Jack Chick Sound Pack. This is basically just the default NESmaker tutorial music file or a sound pack. But this one is slightly modified for this game. So choose Jack Chick Sound Pack and click open. And now we have access to our sound effects and our music. Well, that's cool. Next, if we take a look at our chick import folder, there's a file in here called input scripts. It's a picture file. So open up input scripts, this picture file right here, and just move it a little bit to the side. So let's move it over here like that, and let's go back to NESmaker, and let's make this NESmaker window a little bit smaller, and let's go to scripts here in NESmaker and input scripts. So make sure you have input scripts selected here, over here in NESmaker. Let's see if we can adjust our window so like that. So now we can work inside of NESmaker and we can see our picture file over here, because these input scripts are the one we need in our game. So again, make sure you have input scripts selected and go to base 4.5. Double click base 4.5 and go to game and go to mod Metroidvania, because that's where we will find our first input scripts. Mod Metroidvania and inputs. Now let's just start here at the top, and the first one here says change action to jumping. So double click this one and double click the next one called change action to moving, and let's include this next one called change action to stop. Okay, so the next script we need to import is the one here called reset game. This one. So double click reset game, and the next one is called warp. These two, reset game and warp, these are custom scripts, custom input scripts for this project. Alright, so from here on we need to go to mod platformer base. So let's go here to DIR and let's move up one level, and again double click DIR to move up one level. Now let's go to mod platformer base and inputs. So what do we need from here? Well, the first one is the one called do simple scroll left. So double click do simple scroll left, do simple scroll right, do stop scrolling, jump through plat, and var jump. Alright, so next we need to go to the base folder, the one that's just called game. So double click here on top on DIR once more, and yeah, there we go. Now we are in the base folder, the one called game, and from here we need to go to input scripts. So go to input scripts here, and here we need the one called move left. So double click move left, move right, and stop moving. And finally there's a one called start game with new continue points. So double click that one as well. Okay, if you need to check that you got all these, just make sure that your list below input scripts here matches this picture file over here. So if you need to check, just see if those match. Alright, let's close our picture file here. Now, normally when you import input scripts like this, you need to go to the input editor down here, and you need to set up one input after another. So set the game state, what button you want to use, and what script to run, so on. Now, in order to do this quicker for us, I've done this already. So with input editor selected here, go at the top where it says input linker. Click import input links. And there's a file called inputs here. So select inputs and click open. And now all our inputs are already set up for us. Now, before we leave this window, let's take a look at this column right here. These are the game states in our game. So we briefly talked about game states before with Ghost Hunter Pete, but by default NESmaker has 3 game states. It has main game, it has win screen, and start screen. Now I've added 2 more, one called game over and one called cutscene. Let's just very quickly take a look where you can find your game states if you want to rename or sort of make your own game states. So just go over here to project settings, and the first tab here, project labels. If you go all the way to the bottom, almost to the bottom, there we have our game states. So basically what I did, I just renamed this one to game over, and I renamed this one to cutscene. Now the reason these are in here right now is because they are part of the module, our starting module. Remember, we used our Jack the Chick starting module to make this game, and that's the reason that why these are in here right now. They are not here by default. Okay, so basically we have 5 game states in our game. Okay. And we have our inputs set up right now. So, if we go to our Chick import folder, basically we've done most of this now, but there's one file here called map. So let's go back to NESmaker and let's go to our overworld up here. So now with overworld selected, right click that and click import both maps. There's a warning here that says, hey, if you do this, then all of these screens will be deleted. They will go away. And in our case, that's perfectly fine, because all of the screens over here now are just blank screens anyway. So it's not a problem. But if you ever do this in the future, and you're working on a game and you're importing maps, just remember that it's going to erase the ones that you have from before. Okay, anyway. Are you sure? Yes, we're sure in this case, so click yes. And from our Chick import folder, we're going to choose map and click open. Import complete. Okay, cool. So now we have a few screens in our game. Alright, nice. Let's just start by going to the top left screen here. This is our start screen. Now, before we do anything, and I think we talked about this in our Ghost Hunter P tutorials, it's just something that annoys me a little bit. It's not a huge issue, but if you see this top part here, this is where your HUD will normally be in a game. The thing is that the Metroidvania module, it doesn't use a HUD like this. The Metroidvania module has a sprite HUD. So basically this is useless for us. Now we can hide it by clicking this button over here that says Show HUD, and it goes away. Okay, great. The problem is that we need to do that for every single screen. So Show HUD, and it goes away. So that's just a little bit annoying. So the way to fix that is to go over here to HUD and boxes, here at the top of NESmaker, basically. HUD and boxes. So this is the HUD area. We don't need that in the Metroidvania module. So right now under HUD area it says X0, Y0. That's perfect, because if I click the set button right now, then basically it's going to set the HUD area to nothing. So click the set button under HUD area, and notice this thing will go away. There we go. But just to make this, just to clean up a little bit, let's select the entire screen like that and click set under playable area. So our entire screen is a playable area in our game. Don't have any area for HUD in our Metroidvania module. Alright, that's just a little thing to satisfy my OCD. Okay, let's now go back to our top left screen. Oops, top left screen. Whoa. There we go. And as you can see, now there's no HUD here. Alright, now this is our start screen. If we click on the collision button at the top here, we can see that there's a little rectangle shape here made up of ones. What's that? Well, if you remember from when we made the Ghost Hunter Pete, tile number 1, these are our tiles for this screen. And tile number 1, that's solid. That's a solid tile. And I think we did this in Ghost Hunter Pete. So basically what we are doing here is we're creating an invisible solid cage for our player. And why are we doing that? Well, when you place your player object on the screen in NESmaker, that's the starting screen on your game. So I want this to be the starting screen for our game. But make sure you have collision selected here. We need to place our player object inside this square or rectangle of ones. So right click in here and place player. So when the game starts, our player is going to start inside this one, and basically this just makes sure that our player doesn't fall down, because if he didn't have this one, then he would just fall down to the screen below, and that screen would be loaded, and so on. It would be really messy. We just want our static start screen right here, and by placing the player like that, he's not going anywhere, so our screen will stay static like that. But in addition to placing our player in an invisible cage, I've done something else. So let's go to screen info up here. I've also checked this box for hide sprites, which means this screen will not display any sprites whatsoever. No sprites will be displayed here. Basically that means that our player sprite will be invisible on this screen. And now there are no other sprites here, but if there were, they would be invisible as well. One more thing, I also checked these two, left edge for scroll and right edge for scroll. The reason I did that was because I never want my start screen to scroll left or right. I think that would look weird in my game. So I just want a static screen that's basically does nothing. Just sits there. And it the only thing it does really is play this song Pirate. And it does one more thing. It waits for an input from the player. Now, how can I be so sure about that? Well, let's notice one thing up here. Start screen. This screen has the start screen game state, as you can see here. So, what does that really mean, actually? Well, we looked at this just a moment ago. If we go back to our input editor here, when I set up this input, press S, that means press start. That only applies to the screen where start screen game state is set. So in this case, this only applies to the start screen game state, or the screens with start screen game state. That basically means that if I press start during normal gameplay, which means any screen that has the main game state, if I press the start button on any of those screens, nothing's going to happen, because I haven't set up any inputs for that. So that's one way that we can use game states, is to separate inputs like that. So in this case, when I press start on my start screen, this thing's going to happen. If I press start on during normal gameplay, nothing's going to happen. Same thing here for cutscene. I also set up press start from on any screen that is marked with cutscene, the cutscene game state. But for that one, I set up a script called warp. So these two do almost the same thing. The start screen script, the start game with new continue points script basically does the same thing as this warp script, only this it does a few more things, like prepare. It starts the game. Let's take a quick look at these scripts. This is the start game with continue point script. So basically this just warps to whatever screen we have specified, and it also prepares our game. It does whatever what the script says. Start a new game. But as I said, it warps. So if we just take a quick look at our start screen and go to screen info, we have set up a warp out screen for 0x0y15. Okay, where's that? x0y15. That's this one right here, the one in the lower left corner. So when we're on the start screen, we press start and we do a warp. we are warping down here to this screen. Okay. So, by the way, this is the tutorial screen that we saw in the beginning of the video, and this is just a static screen that I've made up from normal background tiles. I just made a few background tiles that look like the player objects, but all of these are just background tiles. So, also, just notice that this screen is set up with a cutscene game state. So this is a cutscene game state. And again, let's just take a look at collision, and we can see that for this screen as well, I made this invisible cage, solid cage for my player, and I right clicked in here and I clicked set warp in location, so I can be sure that whenever the player warps to this screen, he's going to warp inside here, which means that he's not going to fall down, so we won't have a problem with the screen below being loaded. And since this is a cutscene, then if I press start on that particular screen, then this is going to happen, as we can see in our input editor. Whenever this screen set up with cutscene game state and we press the start button, we're going to warp. And if we take a look at our warp input script, it does one thing: it warps. No more fancy things. Only thing it does is warp. And as usual, it's going to warp to whatever screen is set up here in screen info. In this case, it's screen 115. And that's this one right here. This is screen 115. So basically we're warping from this screen to this screen and then to this screen. Now this screen as well, it's basically the same thing. There's an empty cage, there's a solid cage, and if you look at screen info, we're still hiding sprites. We are still making sure that this is a left and right edge for scroll. We still don't want any scrolling in our game. All of the screens so far are static screens. Start screen, the tutorial screen, and this stage screen. They were all static screens. Alright, now let's think about this. We saw the game in the beginning of the video, so we know a little bit of how this works. So I started the game, got the start screen, I pressed the start button, and sure enough I got this screen, and I could read this, use however long time I want to take a look at this screen, and then when I was done reading this, I could press the start button and I went from this screen to this screen. Now when I got to this screen, I didn't touch any button. I didn't press A, I didn't press start, I just waited. And just after a few seconds, then I was warped to this screen. So what does that mean? Well, basically there's a little timer here. By the way, this screen is also set up with cutscene which means that if I wanted to, I could press the start button and just make sure that I immediately go to the next screen, sort of a skip button, because I set that screen up as a cutscene. Because remember, every screen set up with a cutscene, if we press the start button, it's going to warp to the next screen. So let's see, this screen is set up as a cutscene. So we can press the start button on this one and we will be warped to whatever screen is set up here. Alright, but what about this timer thing? Well, here's the thing. There are really professional ways we could do this. We could do a lot of assembly programming, we could make some fancy timer, and there are just many ways we could solve this to make a timer. I did this in a fairly simple way. So I didn't program any timer for this example. Now this is where our timer monster comes into play. So if we take a look at screen info here and day monsters for this screen right here. Oh wow, you know what? We haven't set up day monsters for this screen, which actually works out great because now I can show you. So on this particular screen I want the effect monsters monster group. Now I decided that I wanted these monsters in the last tile set for monsters. Now again, don't worry too much about what that actually means. Not right now anyway. But it means that in this case we need to choose tiles 7 before we can select effect monsters for this screen. So day tile set tile 7 effect monsters. Choose that for this screen and click OK. And in fact, let's do that for the screen to the right, the one that says stage 2. So again, let's go to screen info, let's go to day monsters, let's make sure we have tiles 7 set up for our day tile set, and let's choose effect monsters for this screen and click OK. So I guess this means that we didn't set up monster groups for these screens as well. Let's take a look. Yeah, so we need to do that in just a second. But let's just finish looking at this screen. So, this timer thing, what's going on? Well, you probably noticed that we have this timer monster. So let's take a quick look at our timer monster, see what that really is. Well, visually it's nothing. It's just one tile, one invisible tile. I've chosen this one in the lower right corner of my tile set. And by the way, there are no other graphics in the tile set 7 for the monsters. So it's just an invisible monster. Doesn't have any graphics whatsoever. But if we go into object details and we go to details over here, it does have a speed, and then I've set full acceleration speed. But here's something new. Solid object reaction. Warp on solid. This is not a default NESmaker thing. This is something that we set up here in the beginning. If we click this one, you might recognize these other ones. Reverse direction, stop, destroy me, null. These are default NESmaker. But this one called warp on solid, that's something that I made. And basically what it does is exactly what the name says. This is an object that when it collides with a solid tile, it's going to trigger a warp. Let's take a look at that in just a second. But also, let's just make sure that we know that for the actions for our timer monster, the only thing it does is move left. And very important, it also has the ignore gravity set, which means it's not going to fall down or anything, it's just going to move to the left. And I've set up a fairly slow speed for it. So if we could close and go back to our stage 1 screen here. So what's going on? Well, let's click collision here. What I did after I made this timer monster, I played, first of all, of course you have to make sure that the effect monster group is selected for this screen. And then I just placed monster 1 timer monster right here. So when the player warps into this screen, remember he's invisible. So whoever plays this game will know nothing about what's going on here. But the player is going to warp into this cage. It's going to be invisible. And we have this invisible timer monster over here. And it's going to slowly move to the left like this. And remember, whenever it hits a solid tile, it's going to trigger a warp. So the effect this is going to give is that this screen has sort of a timer. So it's going to be shown for like maybe just a few seconds, and then we are warped to this screen up here. So it just gives a little nice effect. Basically what this video is all about is just making our games just a little bit more, let's just call it professional looking. Just make them a little bit more polished, because at least for me, I don't think it wouldn't look great if I just if I just warped from a start screen to this screen, and from this screen with all the eggs. Let's say I collected 5 eggs, and when I collect the 5th egg, and bang, I'm immediately warped here. Maybe that's the effect you want, but usually in games like Bubble Bobble or whatever, oftentimes you'll have a little screen in between levels that says stage 1, stage 2, and so on. Or maybe even a cutscene. So what we did, the way we solved this is one way of handling these in-between screens. And in this case we have a little timer monster to help us basically set up a timer for this screen. So the user or the player could either wait a few seconds, or if he's impatient, he can just click the start button and bang, it goes to the next screen. Which, in my opinion, is probably the best way of doing things. Just make sure that if you're making a game with a cutscene, try to include a skip button. And as you can see, that's really easy to do. You just need this input script. Just make an input script that uses this warp macro. Make sure you have an RTS at the end. And that's all you need for your skip button. And of course, make sure that you assign that script to a certain game state. You don't want to be pressing the start button in the middle of your game and bang, it warps you to wherever. But as a skip button for cutscenes, it's perfect. You might have issues if you're doing screens where text is being written to the screen. In those cases you might have to do some extra work, but let's not go into that right now. So let's set up monster groups for these screens up here. So this is the second screen, screen X1, Y0. So let's go to that one right now and go to screen info and day monsters and choose forest creatures and click OK. Now remember, to move to the right, the screen to the right, we just click our right arrow on our keyboard. So I'm going to do that now, and on this next screen I'm going to go to screen info, day monsters, day monster group, forest creatures, OK. And I'm going to do this for all the remaining screens here. Now just a quick comment here. Unfortunately, this is not included when you import maps like we did just a moment ago. So just remember that if you're importing maps, you also need, even though you set up monster groups beforehand, you need to do that as well, like we're doing right now. So actually there are monsters placed on this screen, but we can't see them because the monster groups weren't imported along with our map. So when I go to screen info now and click day monsters, day monster group, forest creatures, and OK, suddenly a bunny monster popped up here. It's because I placed them there before I exported the map. It's just that the monster group itself is not imported for whatever reason, I don't know. Anyway, let's finish this up. So here, let's go to screen info, day monsters, forest creatures, and let's just do that for our remaining screens. Screen info, day monsters, forest creatures, OK. And let's just do that for this level as well. Oops. Let's go into this screen, screen info, day monsters, and forest creatures. And just a few more screens to go, and we are done. Also notice that this is a clever way of reusing tiles. You can see that this is exactly the same tile set that we used in the previous level, but just by changing the palette we can make it look like some sort of snow level instead of a grass level. Just a little tip for you. Okay, so again, screen info, day monsters, day monster group, forest creatures. Okay, and I think we just have a couple of screens to go. Screen info, day monsters, day monster group, forest creatures, okay, and last screen. Alright, there we go. So, now we have set up monster groups for these screens, and we have set up our special monster groups for these, actually two of the screens down here. The effect monsters, or in our case, the timer monster. So we have that for screen stage 2, the stage 2 screen as well. Yeah. So I think we're ready to test our game now. So let's click export and test. I know this was a lot, but I hope you got it all. So, no error messages. That's a great start. Now, since this is a fresh install of NESmaker, this is the first time that I'm messing inside this NESmaker installer install folder. This is the first time we start messing from that folder. Basically that means that we need to set up all the settings all over again. So, for example, input. We need to set up what inputs we want. So I'm going to set up inputs for player 1, and I'm going to choose the keys on my keyboard that I want to use. You do whatever keys you want to use. If you want to use a USB controller, you can do that right now. But I'm going to set up my D-pad these keys. Actually no, I want these. I want my tab key for my select button, and yeah. So that's how I want my input set up. If you ever get this message in Messen, basically that means that you have some conflicts. You have some inputs set up identically for player 1 and player 2. So I'm going to go to player 2 right now, and I'm just going to choose some random keys for player 2. Right now I don't care too much about player 2 because we don't have any player 2. So anyway, that's our inputs. Okay. Now, for some reason, the volume is set really low for our sound. So I'm going to go to audio, volume, and I'm going to set my audio volume to 60. Okay. So once again, we are at our start screen, but this time we are here from our NESmaker. At the beginning of the video, that was a pre-made ROM file that I made. If you have this on your screen right now, then this is the thing that you and me made right now. So cool. Our start screen. We press start right now. Hey, now we're at the tutorial screen, and on this screen we don't have any timer monsters or anything. This is just a static screen. You can take as long as you want to look at this screen, and when you're done, like it says at the bottom here, you just press the start button. So okay, let's press the start button. Here's our stage 1, and hey, after just a few seconds we go here to our first level. And let's just see if our game works the way we want it to work. So, okay, so there's a lot of stuff going on here. Whoops. And actually, this also shows a few things that we will be doing in the next video, which is fixing a lot of NESmaker problems. So, there we go. As you can see, we have a duplicate monster. Two monsters that spawn at the exact same place. We're going to fix that. But let's not worry about that right now. So, as you can see, there's a lot going on. And this is the new trampoline trick I just made. Okay. What I was going to say is the trampoline tile. That's a tutorial that I wrote just a few days ago. That just gives the trampoline tile just a tiny little animation effect. If you want to check that out, you can go to the NESmaker forum. Okay, anyway, let's see if we can finish this game. So, see, there's the bounce that I was talking about. The default trampoline tile is just a static tile like that. Anyway, our egg tiles are working, and maybe you noticed that when the bunny collided with the egg tile, we got a -1. So actually we could let's try to lose our health. Okay, let me go all the way back here. So it seems like the game is working pretty well actually. We could see if we could reach our windscreen, but I'm pretty confident that we will, because all the warps are already set up. So we have a fairly working game right now. Actually, it's working like it should, but we need to polish this game. I don't want duplicate monsters. And let me show you another problem. And these problems are default in NESmaker. Now, please, don't get me wrong. I absolutely love NESmaker. I'm not going to badmouth NESmaker anyway, so please don't get me wrong. But let's be honest. By default, NESmaker has a few tiny problems here and there, and in the next video we are going to fix those few problems. So let's take a look at another of those problems. Now we have set up the inputs for hold left, scroll left, hold right, scroll right, and so on, and when you release left or right, you stop scrolling, and seems like it's working fairly well. The problem is if you just tap lightly left or right, don't hold left or right, just tap left or right, you get a little problem here. Our player object will slowly move towards the edge of the screen, like you can see here. Whoops. Just by tapping like that, you could have the player end up at the very edge of the screen, and we don't want that, because in worst case scenario, oh my god, there's so many. We also had duplicate monsters here. That's why it's going. Whoa! I think there were 3 bunnies there. So anyway, the point is that there are a few things that we need to fix, and those things can be applied to whatever Metroidvania game you're making. So that's for the next video. But the point this video was, as I said, special screens. So I hope you got a little, that you learned a little bit about how you could make special screens in your game. Just by setting up normal screen with background tiles, and by using inputs, and maybe using some clever tricks like our timer monster. And by using these tricks together, you can make basically whatever special screen you want. Let's quickly look at our game over screen, because I don't think we have seen our game over screen yet. This is the game over screen. Again, it's just a screen with this cage, this invisible cage thing, and it also has a input set up for that particular game state, which is game over in this case. And as you can see, it's the start game with new continue points script. So, as I just said, you can basically set up any screen you want. Of course, at some point you might want to make advanced cutscenes with sprites and all kinds of crazy things. We're not going to cover that, especially not today. But just start by making screens like this. Try to get this to work. Make a start screen, maybe make a tutorial screen like this one, or just make sure that you have a little screen that says stage 1, stage 2, whatever. And just try to use whatever we did here today to get comfortable with this way of working with NESmaker. Yeah. Well, you know what? I think that's enough for today. We have done a lot of stuff today. And if you got your game working, and especially if you understood everything we did today, then great work. And even if you didn't, great job. We covered a lot, and also feel free to play around with this chick import thing. Use the graphics for whatever you want. As long as you don't publish this game, you can use these graphics and these scripts as much as you want. Okay, so I think it's time to say bye-bye for now, and I will make another video before Easter is over. So keep having a great Easter, and I'll see you in just a few days. I promise. Okay, bye-bye.